Morning all. Jackie Graham, morning. Christopher Coffey, morning, sir. Althea, Alberta Sampath, Daniela Williams, morning. Morning, Rookman. Blessed morning to you. Neil Francois, always present. Irene Collymore, good morning. Kenneth Gabriel, morning, sir. All right. What do we need? Constructive Talk, TNT, morning. Pamela O'Connor, Helen Faria Trotman, Bina Felix, Dwayne Peters, morning to all of you guys. Deem Rodney, Wazid, Shah, Natalie F, morning to all of you. Leon Joseph, morning to you. Terence Big Trini for Life Cummings, morning, sir. Patty Kutu, proud to be Trini. Hyacinth Richardson, all of you. Constructive Talk TNT says, I have moved to 91.1. Very good, very good. Understand that Pastor Google will be moving across to 91.1 as well, effective, in a couple of days' time. I think from Wednesday. So that completes, that's the end of that there for those folks. So he was the last of the holdout for 91.9. And so I am advised that he will be heading across to 91.1. Yeah. Lennox Ramdani, morning, sir. Jenny Cupid St. Hilaire, Jennifer Ashby Okoli, morning. Leon says they're having a bit of rain in Toko. Yes, we have some rain on this side too. Hyacinth says I'm a energized bunny. Oh, loss. Hyacinth, if I tell you, non-stop. Morning, Deanne Charles. Deanne, thank you so much for joining us yesterday on our walk. Deanne joined us all the way from San Fernando. We also had some folks on Friday night at the launch, all the way from Point Fortin. Persons from Diego Martin, Valsine. Yeah, so persons came out in their numbers to support us on Friday night, and I want to thank all of you. And I will repeat, as I said in my speech on Friday night, we didn't have to pay anybody to come out. So contrary to the nonsense that the UNC talking about paying CPAP workers to attend meetings, we don't pay anybody to attend any meetings. I had on the walk yesterday, well over 60 persons walking with me, and none of them were paid. Everybody came out on their own volition, right? And we would have had an even bigger turnout on Friday night, but for the rain, so during my walk yesterday, some persons would have indicated to me that they had planned to come out and join us, but then when the rains came, so those whose homes were within earshot would have listened from the comfort of their homes. Right, so we thank all of them who came out. So Diane is saying who is going 91.1. So Sharon is on 91.1, Diane, and Pastor Google will be joining the cast. I think he would be on from 12 to 3 or something like that, is what I was told. Yeah, so as I said, he was the last of the holdouts on 91.9, and he will be going to join Sharon and Aisha across on 91.1. Yes. Deem Rodney says, I got on bad with my maiden speech. Thank you so much. Sarah Richards, Judy Small, Claire Carrington, Arthur James, Jennifer Dorset, Valerie Bowen, morning to all of you guys. Mary DeHare, Andel George, Emmanuel Simmons, Andrew Horton, Naomi Lincoln Marshall, morning to you guys. Theophilus Lockheed, Lonnie Rodney, morning. Hi, Roxanne. Roxanne, I want to see you on Facebook and not YouTube. Beverly Jones, morning to you. Well, I take my brooms wherever I could get it. Morning, Allison Samuel, Adriana, Alexis. I'm seeing here Juliet TV. Morning to you, Juliet. Thank you so much. Ashlyn Robertson, Patricia Commoner, Alison Boyce. All right, so let me jump into it one time because I have a lunch invitation from one of my constituents for 1:30. So I have limited time this morning. Tomorrow being a holiday, we will be working from 9 to 12. So I will do another live tomorrow afternoon, probably about 1:30, thereabout, right? But so many developments over the last couple of days. Yes, so the election is heating up, if we want to call it that. And so the UNC would have treated us to 3 more candidates. 3 more. I don't know. Well, I think they had a meeting last night, and where was it, in Sangre Grande? I don't know if they announced it. Yeah, I think they announced anymore. So we are now at 22. Is that what I'm seeing here? So they still have 17 more candidates to name, with exactly 4 weeks to go before the general election. 17 constituencies have no idea, no clue as to who the UNC candidate is going to be. So they don't have the benefit of this person working to hear their concerns, to hear their ideas on how their constituency could be improved. And chances are many of them will not have that opportunity, so that when the election has come and gone, for those constituencies that UNC is more than likely to win, persons would not have had the benefit to even see what their candidate looks like, especially where you are selecting candidates that persons don't know, have never seen. So I saw last night they named Nicholas Morris as the candidate for Mayaro, confirming the ousting of Rushton Parry, who has been the candidate for the last 10 years. Now, I must say, and I've been reading the comments under posts that speak to that issue of Rushton Parry being ousted, which was everybody expected. That was a foregone conclusion. It seems Mr. Parry was the only one who might have been holding out some hope that there was some modicum of integrity in the selection process of the United National Congress, the party that he supports. And Mr. Parry's biggest sin was that years ago, he made a contribution to a PNM campaign, election campaign, and he dared to challenge the great leader, the dear leader, Prasad Bisesa. Once you do that, that's it, right? Because he was branded an imakaram, he ungrateful, he this and that. Even the leader took him to task. Once you challenge Kamla Prasad Bisesa, the political cemetery would be your next destination. Now, Mr. Parry has the option to forestall that. He still has an opportunity. It's nomination day is on Friday. So he has the option. He can run as an independent, or he could choose to align himself with one of a couple of the other smaller parties, such as the Patriotic Front. I don't know that they would have named a candidate for Mayaro as yet. And also he has the option of the NTA. Whether or not he's going to avail himself of those options, or if he's just going to sit it out and say, well, okay, that's the end of my political career. But his ouster is not sitting well with some UNC supporters in Mayaro. In fact, I've seen several comments where persons from Mayaro are saying, who is this Nicholas Morris? We don't know him. He's not from the area. We know Mr. Parry. Mr. Parry has been contributing to the constituency for years as a constituent of Mayaro, a businessman in Mayaro who has contributed to the development of Mayaro, who has, through his business, hired persons in Mayaro. So they don't just see him as a UNC standard bearer. They see him as somebody from the community who has capacity. And so it's not sitting well with them. Some of them say they're not going to vote for, they're not voting, they're going to sit this one out because they don't support that move. But then again, at the end of the day, they just want to see the UNC in power and understand the inherent danger in that, right? That they are willing to turn a blind eye to what the UNC offers. And people need to look at these candidates not just as candidates. That's the critical thing. We see names being announced and persons talking and running them out and so on. But the critical thing here is you need to see these persons not just as candidates, but as potential future ministers. And when you look at them from that perspective and analyze, could you really see Nicholas Morris as a minister? This is a gentleman who has allegations over his head that he owed everybody under the sun. That is a claim out there, an allegation out there, that he would have engaged allegedly in some kind of fraudulent activity with respect to false papers concerning his qualifications, false papers concerning some degree. But we know under the last administration between 2010 to 2015, that was the order of the day. You had a number of persons serving on state boards who did not have the qualifications that are mandated for persons to serve on certain boards. It's not just you pick anybody. Certain boards require that persons have certain professional qualifications, whether you're an accountant or a lawyer or whatever it is. And persons who didn't have these qualifications were falsifying their certifications to present to say that they meet the criteria to serve on boards, because they simply could not get qualified persons to serve on these boards, because these persons who have integrity wanted nothing to do with the UNC. And they just couldn't. So they had to settle for what they had. And knowing full well that some of these people had falsified credentials, they still took them. And the situation now is even worse. Because when you have quality persons who are qualified leaving the party in droves, right? It tells you that if perchance you were to play fast and loose with your vote and put these people in office come April 28th, who are they going to look to populate boards, state enterprises that are so critical to the running of the government in Trinidad and Tobago? Because remember, government is not just cabinet. You have all of these different state enterprises that, such as First Citizens Bank, Unit Trust, and all of these other things that have been running well. And when you put an unqualified bunch to run these entities, what do you expect to get? Just remember, 2010 to 2015, the Port Authority Board that has responsibility for the ferries, right? For 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, they refused to send the 2 ferries for dry dock, for service, which is critical. They kept requesting extension after extension after extension without any regard for the impact that was having on the vessels. They inherited two vessels that were working properly from the Manning administration, right? And what did they do? Run it down, such that when they left office, what did this administration inherit? 1 vessel was in HCU, 1 was in ICU. We were able to salvage and save the one that was in the HDU, high dependency unit, but the one in ICU couldn't save. Today, it is at the bottom of the ocean somewhere. After this administration was able to sell it for some $3 million US, I think, and as it was making its way to its new owner in Europe, it sank. It sank. These are the people who would have taken a decision based on the Mote report to extend the Charter Party agreement for what was then the Warrior Spirit for 5 years, to lock in the vessel for 5 years, such that when it experienced mechanical problems and it ended up on having only one operational engine, right? So the time it was taking to go to Tobago and back was frustrating the operation of the sea bridge as far as it pertains to cargo. And when it is that they try to get out of the Charter Party agreement, that's when they brought in Nairi Alfonso and to assess the Charter Party agreement, and they were told, no, you all can't, they can't get out of it, so you're stuck with this. So they had a vessel just park up there. When they went out to get the Superfast Galicia, right? The Warrior Spirit, we were paying thousands of US dollars to just have a vessel park up there. 1 engine, couldn't fix whatever was the issue with it. Because these bright people who they put on that board, unqualified people who they put on that board, thought it was a good decision to have a 5-year Charter Party agreement, right? So you, the taxpayer, was saddled with paying this money for a vessel that was not in service. And then they went to get the Superfast Galicia. And even though they were told the Superfast Galicia is not compatible with the port infrastructure in Trinidad, they said, bring it, man. We got bring it. We go fix that. We go sort that out. How much money it will cost to make the port infrastructure compatible? They say $2 million. Just the dredge alone cost you, the taxpayer, over $50 million. And then when they brought the Galicia here, and while they were still trying to fix the port infrastructure, the Galicia was just taking sun out in the Gulf, costing you $17,500 US per day for 53 days. It's just out there, anchored out in the Gulf, waiting for them to dredge and fix the port infrastructure to accommodate it. And then even though they did all of that, it still wasn't ideal, because they had to end up renting or leasing a barge at $1,500 US per day, right? So that to try and make the Galicia compatible with the port infrastructure. So that is $17,500 for the Galicia US per day, plus $1,500 US per day for the barge, $19,000 US per day is what you were paying. And every time they start up the engine of the Superfast Galicia, and all of this came out in the Muti report, it would rock the foundation of the Hyatt Hotel, right? The Hyatt Hotel would have lost business because, one, of that problem. Two, where they had the Superfast Galicia docked, it was blocking the view of patrons of the Hyatt Hotel, and of course that would have impacted the business. But every time that they start up the Superfast Galicia and rock the foundation of the Hyatt, it caused some damage, which you, the taxpayer, had to pay millions of dollars to fix the damage that was done to the Hyatt. But the supporters talking about this Superfast Galicia, which was a cargo vessel. Just remember that. But all of this took place because they didn't have competent people to staff these boards. And that is one of the problems that they will face. So if they're struggling to get competent people to serve as candidates, what do you think will happen? Should you put God out of your collective thoughts to put them in office? And they have to staff these boards, and they have to get diplomats to serve as high commissioners and ambassadors and all of these different things. Where they're going to get the people from? Now, of course, you have the hungry mouths on them who are going to present themselves because it's about eat our food. Yeah, so you have them waiting in the wings, looking to eat our food, drink our juice, just like they did between 2010 to 2015. So you don't just have to look at the cabinet and who will be ministers. You have to look at who they're going to put to populate these boards. And we saw what they did between 2010 to 2015. Right? So when you're listening to them, listen carefully on the campaign. So we saw they also announced Roger Alexander, former Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander, as the candidate for Tunapuna. Yes. And the question on everybody's minds and lips is, what did they offer him? Because for him to give up tenure, he said in the article he has been with the police service for over 30 years. So he certainly has tenure. You know, the 33 and a third, once you serve 33 and a third, you get your full pension. But he didn't retire from the police service. He resigned, which from what I am told would most likely impact his pension. So for him to give up that, give up the power that he has as a police officer to be able to arrest people, and we know he's one who liked to manhandle people. We recall that incident with him and Ian Allen some years ago. Alexander, how you could do me that way? Alexander, how you could do me that way? Come. You lock up. Hey, give my handcuff there, boy. You cussing me? Bring the handcuff. I remember that exchange between the two of them? But they want to talk about Rosti Ochom was a bully. All those of us would have seen that video. Was that really called for? Did he need to manhandle and rough up Ian Allen like that? Your partner? Jack up the man on the car? Hey, you cussing me? You're disrespectful. Bring the handcuffs there. You lock up. So I'm reading here where he gave a speech last night. I didn't hear it, but some people question his ability to deliver. But anyway. So I'm reading some comments of the UNC supporters who are praising this move. Yeah, that's a good man. He's going to bring down crime. He's a good man for Ministry of National Security, and he's going to bring down the state of crime in the country. Really? Listen to him. There is someone here who will fight on your behalf because that's what I've been doing all my life, he said. Working to put an end to extortion against business owners. So right away, his first priority is to business owners, not to the average citizen, right? He has told you his first priority is to the business owners, the people who shelling out the money to the UNC to be able to offer these inducements. What? I don't know. As I said, questions are being asked. What was the inducement offered to him to give up all of, his entitlements in the police service to run for a seat that he is not certain to win and would most likely not win? And therefore, it is not like he could say, I'm resigning for 1 month, and if I don't win, I'm going to unresign and come back to the police service. So it doesn't work that way. You have resigned, you are no longer a member of the police service, and you can't come back and say, I changed my mind. It doesn't work so. And to have climbed the ladder in the TTPS to senior superintendent, a hair's breadth away from the position of commissioner, which I'm sure perhaps at one time he may have had aspirations for. I mean, and his rise from Sergeant Alexander to senior superintendent was pretty quick. So he was ascending that ladder, in a rapid pace. But we know his past is quite colorful, where he would have faced charges. We would have seen videos with the two men who get rough up and so on, and which would have resulted in him being charged. He was on suspension for a number of years from the TTPS. He came back in. But it seems that the supporters of the UNC are putting confidence in him, that should he be given the position of Ministry of National Security, and one wonders if this perhaps may not have been one of the offers that may have been made to him. I don't know, I'm just saying. Right? But remember, Prasad Bisesa is saying that to fight crime in Trinidad, Ministry of National Security in and of itself is insufficient. We need a Ministry of Justice, we need a Ministry of Defense, and we need a Ministry of Home Affairs, in addition to the Ministry of National Security. So 4 new ministries that she has proposed just to deal with crime alone. 4. All right? So that's 3 additional ministries to create jobs for the boys. Because remember, getting candidates, we hog trading. Because you're asking me to join a party that is going to impugn my integrity, right? The respectability that some of these people would have built up over the years is going to go to hell once they decide to accept. All right, so therefore that is going to come at a premium. So if you're asking me to do that, and there's no guarantee that I'm going to win the seat, and if I don't win, then what happens? So one wonders what are the inducements that are being offered. We know in 2010 to 2015, they had offered one man $11.625 million to become Minister of Finance. But we know the UNC has no money. The party itself has no money, because we've heard councillors and aldermen say that they are required to forfeit 10% of their monthly salary to the party to pay for its expenses, like the rent and maintenance of their headquarters and the like, and other expenses. So the party itself doesn't have money. So these inducements that are being offered, who is funding that? And what is the payback? What is the payback? Because nobody's going to spend millions of dollars to a party to be able to induce people to come without there being some sort of return on your investment. So understand, these are the questions that you need to ask. So when you see these persons being announced, oh, they pull a big fish. Really? What was the bait? What was the bait that they used to pull this so-called big fish? And what is the payback? And who are these persons behind the scenes? But they love to talk about the PNM is in the back pocket of the 1%. Right? And the PNM this and the PNM, let me tell you something. The PNM, the party has not given me any money. And I'm sure that is the case for the rest of the candidates. Right? We are funding our own campaigns. And so therefore, we have to be very meticulous in how we run our campaigns. So we look for volunteers because we don't have money to pay anybody to walk and all of these kind of things. So it's when you see these crowds, it is volunteers, persons who believe in the People's National Movement, what the party stands for, and who are coming forward. I must say the youth participation in my campaign has been tremendous, has been very, very, very encouraging. They're coming out. They did a, you all would have tuned in on the debunking page on Facebook, would have seen the dance routine that they did on Friday night. I would have seen it for the first time, just as you guys, because they had a rehearsal on Thursday night, but unfortunately, they had a part for me. So you would have seen, they would have, where I was required to walk through the dance troupe, so to speak, to be introduced to persons, some of whom would have been seeing me for the first time. And that was we didn't have a rehearsal for that, because the rehearsal, as I said, was supposed to take place Tuesday night. But up until 10 o'clock Thursday night, I was still out on the campaign. I was invited to give a motivational speech to the young people, the young band players of Arima Angel Harps. And so that was what I was doing on Thursday night. And when I was finished, they treated me to a mini concert. And I must say the talent of these young people is amazing, right? So I wasn't able to make the little rehearsal on Thursday. So what you saw on Friday night was first time for me. And certainly they're on a good cause. And they were happy to do that. And they did it last night when we completed our walk yesterday with Minister Penny Beckles, who came out and walked with us for a couple hours. Minister Gonzalez was supposed to join us, but I think he was unfortunately detained and he wasn't able to come. But I am grateful to Minister Beckles for coming out and walking with us and greeting. And so questions would have been asked by persons who we met, some of whom were asking about, HDC housing, and being a former minister of housing, she was able to answer some of their questions, let them know some of their requests, what are the requirements in order to get the HDC to do what it is that they have to do. And I was truly grateful for that, because some of these questions I would not have been able to answer. But because she would have served as Minister of Housing, she was able to address those issues and other issues that is pertains to governance. So together we were like a tag team, and it worked very, very well. Right. So there's some issues. I mean, I saw, listen, and we underestimate. I just all over the place. I don't have the time this morning too. So I'll just try to, and I saw some HDC developments yesterday. And I'll tell you, I was amazed that these are actually HDC houses, especially in an area called Rosewood in Malabar. I think it was phase 3 or phase 4 or something like that. So, yeah. And if you see how beautiful these units are, the townhouse units, right? They reminded me of some townhouse units that I've seen in Florida, in Coral Springs and so on. Really, really nice. Some people, when we went, they had their front door open and you look inside of these people's homes and it's like, wow, boy, really, really nice. And I must say, kudos to HDC, right? And all of these units would have been constructed by the People's National Movement, all. The unfortunate thing is that in that particular area, you have a lot of persons in there who are loyal to the UNC, because some people in there would have gotten houses when Anil Roberts was the member of parliament for Dabadi Omera. In fact, I recall in 2013 when I was campaigning for local government with the ILP, there were a couple of persons who were on my campaign who would have been part of Anil Roberts' campaign, and then they left and they came to work with me. And one guy would have gotten 2 units in that particular housing development. This man didn't have 2 cents to rub together, as they say. He was the guy who was leading the walk. I was grateful for that, because he knew what he was. So he would plan the walk, right? This middle-aged, well, no more than middle-aged. Yeah. When you see the guy looking scruffy, looking like yeah, every evening, boss, I could get 20 to buy a little punch in there. That was his payment. That's what he wanted. So he organized it. At the end of the walk, he come in, you had $20 to go and buy some punch and get a little thing. Okay. But he was very good at what he did. And he used to tell me, he say, you know, and he'll give me two units, you know. Man, I have no money to pay for it. But you get 2. And that is the kind of thing that was taking place between 2010 to 2015. So when we would have walked in that particular development yesterday, we got some mixed reception. So we know those units that were UNC. And that's part of the course, because I know the whole of Malabar Mausica isn't PNM. There are those who are loyal to the UNC, and that's all right. A couple of them who are UNC who came out, spoke to me. You know, they were very cordial and so on. One of them was someone who I went to primary school with, hadn't seen her in many years. She's having an event, an Easter hunt event. She asked me, you know, if I can assist. So I intend to speak to one of my clients to see what we can do, because not everything has to be government, right? And if it is that I can leverage on my professional background to assist, I would so do. So we got mixed reception. There were a lot of persons in that development as well, the newer persons who would have come there in the last 3 years who support the People's National Movement, and they're not asking for much, right? But so we would seek to treat with that. But I just thought I would speak on that. Yesterday's walk was very, very productive. And it looks well. It looks well. So for those of you who would have been following us yesterday on the debunking page, you would have seen for yourself. But coming back to this issue of Mr. Alexander. So I was reading. He's saying, fighting this thing crime isn't difficult. Here he said, it isn't difficult. Before you blame persons, give them the resources and then hold them accountable. Alexander said people have been victims of crime and are afraid to go about it with their lives. He said he listened to different leaders and chose the one that was aligned with his vision and his dreams of a better TNT. Hear that? He listened to different leaders and chose the one that was aligned with his vision and his dreams of a better TNT. There's so many ways we could interpret that. But yet still, you align yourself with a leader who is prepared to offer to this country candidates such as David Lee, who is currently on $1 million bail for fraud, conspiracy, misbehavior in public office. And you chose to align yourself with that leader who is prepared to offer you as a candidate, a man who is under police investigation. And I'm sure former senior superintendent Roger Alexander would be familiar with those investigations. Right? Even if you heard something on the grapevine, you may not have been responsible for the investigation, but a candidate who is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution, and possibly this is somebody, and this is not just we talking, just saying that. We have one of his former ministerial colleagues who would have filed an affidavit. Two of them, in fact, would have spoken to the issue of being propositioned by this man at UNC events where he would have come to them with women offering, you like what you see? Well, all right, well, you want to now hold this card now. Give him a card. Instructed one of the women, give him a card. So in case he changes his mind or, he has a different preference, he could give me a call and I'll make arrangements, right? One of them said that. And another one has sworn an affidavit stating that he too was propositioned. We have the former member of parliament for Couva North who, in a Facebook exchange with a UNC supporter who was disappointed that she didn't support this individual in the 2020 campaign, indicated to the individual on Facebook before she deleted the comment that she could not in good conscience support this individual because of evidence, not allegations, not claims, because of evidence that he was involved in human trafficking and prostitution, that he would have been engaged in criminal activity. Allegedly, she said that, right? And I have the screenshot saved, right? Where she, the former member of parliament, would have said evidence that this individual would have engaged in certain activity when he was serving on certain state boards under the former People's Partnership administration. But Mr. Alexander, as a police officer, sworn to uphold the law, decided to align himself with the leader. He said he listened to all the leaders and he decided to align himself with the one who is, as he says, most aligned with his vision and his dreams of a better TNT. And he thinks that a man, that these persons would provide for a better TNT. A man who is now facing a civil suit and who should be, or who, based on what we were told by the former commissioner of police, is the subject of a police investigation into bid rigging, fraud, and other crimes in collusion with certain contractors. We would have read transcripts from the judgment, right, where this individual, transcripts of WhatsApp messages, text messages between himself and the head of the EMBD, giving instructions to prepare checks to the tune of millions of dollars to be delivered to him so that he, the minister, could take these checks to these contractors. Unheard of. And the supporters of the UNC have no problem with that. The leader of that party, the woman, who Mr. Alexander says is most aligned with his vision and his dreams for TNT, in the face of all of that, as an attorney who would assess that judgment. So you have a judge, Justice Aboud, who would have read the transcripts, who would have read the evidence presented by the EMBD, and he came to the conclusion that these men have questions to answer, that a case has been made out based on the evidence, a strong case of wrongdoing has been made out against these men, and this matter is to go to trial. So Kamla Prasad Bisasa, who is senior counsel, would have read this, and she, who's supposed to be, as she says, a good lawyer, must know, well, from my perspective as a lawyer, this is serious. But she comes to tell you, no, that is your PNM propaganda designed to make it look like all East Indians is thief. That is what she tells you. And Mr. Alexander, as a police officer sworn up to uphold the law, is telling you she is the person, the leader, most aligned with his vision and his dream for TNT. She who is willing to offer this person as a candidate to you to serve as a minister of government. Understand what is at stake. That many of you have a vested interest in this as citizens and taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago, right? But the first thing they are likely to do, should they come into office, is to drop that because members are civil suit. Now, we are told there is a parallel police investigation taking place over which they have no control, but the civil suit that seeks to get back over $200 million for you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, rest assured that they have, as government, because that is the state would have engaged in that civil suit, they have the power to drop it. Right? And therefore, from the civil side, Mr. Munila could very well walk free because they said it's a witch hunt. A witch hunt, so they say. These are the people who had an issue with the withdrawal of the lawsuit against Malcolm Jones, which lawsuit should never have taken place. But the supporters talking about the Malcolm Jones, and I have always asked the question, why did they go after Malcolm Jones alone and not the board of Petrotrin? Because as someone who sits on several boards, not state boards, what boards for private institutions and so on, I understand the chairman alone cannot make a decision. That is why you have a board. So you have board meetings, you have an agenda, items appear on the agenda, whoever is going to introduce the issue, we speak on it, and then a vote is taken. So the chairman does not have the wherewithal to say, well, this is what is what. It doesn't work that way. But they went after Malcolm Jones. And we know with respect to that whole Malcolm Jones, and I'm just touching on that quickly for the benefit of the UNC supporters who always talk that, right? Malcolm Jones was depending on two items for his defense. One was the outcome of the arbitration between Petrotrin and WGTL St. Lucia, which Petrotrin won, where the arbitration council would have found that WGTL was the one that was at fault with respect to the failure of the gas to liquids plant. And they were ordered to pay compensation to Petrotrin. And one of the items that Petrotrin would have relied on to win that case was the testimony of two former board members who served with Malcolm Jones, Chantak and Batiste. And it was their witness statements about what took place, that it was not a case of negligence, but it was a bad business decision, right? And that would have assisted in WGTL St. Lucia losing the case. So that was one of the things, that arbitration ruling was one of the things that Malcolm Jones was going to rely on for his defense. And the second one had to do with the fact that, so it was the witness statement one and the arbitration. But it had to do with the fact that when Anand Ramlogan, as Attorney General, illegally, because under the Companies Act, he did not have the authority. He did not have the authority as Attorney General to initiate proceedings, right? Because that was a company issue. So Petrotrin was supposed to bring that civil suit. But when Petrotrin chose to cede their fiduciary responsibility to the Attorney General, that was in contravention of the Companies Act, Section 66 and 99 of the Companies Act. So Petrotrin broke the law when they did that. But that was never fully ventilated, right? So in seeking to, right, they broke the law. So that was one of the issues, all right? So when they ceded that, two things. There were two attorneys that Mr. Ramlogan and the state would have conferred with to determine whether or not, for an opinion on whether or not a lawsuit against Malcolm Jones would have been successful. Those two attorneys were Vincent Nelson, QC, but then, yes, Queen's Counsel at the time, and Mr. Russell Martino, Senior Counsel. And both these gentlemen are on record as having said that that based on what was provided to them, for them to study and to offer an opinion, the witness statements of Chantak and Batiste were not provided to them, nor was the ruling of the arbitration ruling provided to them, for them to make a decision to advise the government whether or not a lawsuit against Malcolm Jones would have been successful. And one must ask the question, why were those two pieces of evidence not provided? Because you wanted a particular outcome. Because when this administration came in and they would have provided that information to these two learned gentlemen, they both agreed that had they been provided with the witness statements of Batiste and Chantak, and had they been provided with the arbitration ruling, they would have advised the government not to sue Malcolm Jones. That would have been their advice. That based on this, a lawsuit against Malcolm Jones would have been a waste of resources, would not have been successful, and Mr. Jones had a very, very realistic prospect of winning that matter. But we know the intent really was to just have this high-profile lawsuit so you could charge millions of dollars in briefs and you could get your 10% kickback. But the UNC don't talk about that. They don't talk about the fact that when Faris Al-Rawi came in as Attorney General, he kept the very same legal team that was appointed by Anand Ramlogan to prosecute Mr. Jones. Same legal team. And it is that same legal team that was appointed by him, Anand Ramlogan, is the same legal team that advised the government, Faris Al-Rawi, to withdraw the case. And Gerald Ramdeen was also one of the attorneys on that panel of attorneys who was hired by Ramlogan, and he was one of them who supported the decision to withdraw the case against Malcolm Jones. So when they wanted to know how much billions spent on Malcolm Jones and it was political, go and talk to Ramdeen. Gerald Debedine was also on that panel of attorneys, but he was the only one who gave back his brief. But the rest of them was maintained, and the same attorneys who advised to sue were the same attorneys who advised withdraw the case. But we don't have that discussion. So when it is that the supporters of the other side come to tell you that nonsense about Malcolm Jones and Malcolm Jones, tell them to ask them to answer those questions. They can't tell you about that. But coming back to Mr. Alexander, he says, I have served the TTPS for over 30 years. I have seen it all. I have been through it all. But my colleagues do not have the resources to respond. Technology for national security, he said, has improved drastically over a period of time, yet we are still using technology from 1812 to 1946. Whilst our people suffer at the hands of crime, technology and resources, he said, go hand in hand with motivation. But members of the national security apparatus have only received one payment of $1,000 tax-free in the last 10 to 15 years from Prasad Bisesa. He says to the residents of Tunapuna, he said they must no longer be scared and feel that they have to pay anything demanded by the criminal element. So again, he's focusing on the business community, not the average citizen. Nobody must pack up and leave anymore because there is someone here who will fight on your behalf. Because that is all I have been doing all my life. Fighting crime, Alexander said, is not difficult. Mr. Alexander lives in my constituency, right? And recently, someone was showing me who lives in his neighborhood. They have a neighborhood WhatsApp group, right, for the persons who live on the streets and so on. And someone recently, during my walkabout, was showing me WhatsApp chat where Mr. Alexander would have, from time to time he contributes, so because they talk, the residents and so on talk. And there is an issue in that particular area with respect, within recent times, car thefts, a particular block where persons engage in the sale of narcotics and the like and so on. And they would have seen, so they were showing me the WhatsApp message where, Mr. Alexander would have made a contribution telling them, to be careful and just be on the lookout because we've had reports of car thefts in the area and so on. And, and these people are complaining. Some of them would have spoken to him about the block with the narcotic sales and so on, because that is Senior Superintendent Alexander. He lived in the neighborhood, so maybe he could do something as a senior police officer to break up that. So I'm reading and I'm expecting, I'm reading and I'm going down and I'm waiting to see where he indicates to them that, okay, we are going to organize some sort of a sting or something like that, or this is what the TTPS is going to do to treat with it. No, it's just, be careful as you're going out and be mindful of your surroundings and so on. That's it. So you can imagine my disappointment, right? Because I'm thinking, well, okay, he lives in my constituency, so this is somebody that we could depend on who will be able to make a contribution to the crime fight in the constituency. Where? I was like, okay, so I try to say, that's it? That's all. But he given assurances to the people at Tunapuna. But in his own constituency, in his own neighborhood where he lives, he couldn't treat with the crime issue there. Right? Just around the corner, you have people selling drugs or whatever. Can't fix that. Big policeman like him. But they expect him to do things in the position of Ministry of National Security, because this is what they quoted. Right? It's not here, but it is expected that is probably the position that he's going to get because he was a senior police officer. But simple things in your own neighborhood, you can organize some sort of operation. At one time, he was the head of the Port of Spain division. As senior officer, you couldn't get a few officers to come on a sting operation and deal with that and break up that. So now the residents talking to me, and we don't know what you could do about this. This is a problem we've had in the community for quite a while and so on. So we're hoping that when you get in, you will be able to probably work with the TTPS to be able to treat with that, because it's really a nuisance and so on. But all you have a big policeman living just a couple of houses just on the street, and he can't fix it. So he can't even deal with local issues in his own community, but they expect him to fix crime as Minister of National Security for the entire country. Really? So he's giving assurances to Tunapuna, but he ain't giving assurances to the entire country. But he is this ace crime fighter, right? You will fix crime in the whole country, but you can't even fix it in your doorstep, right outside. So you're probably driving past the drug block every day. Can't fix that, right? Really, that's who they're offering you. And they figure because they have name, so everybody know who he is from beyond the tape and all of that. And that is, yeah, man, yes, the UNC, that's who they're offering you. But remember, you have 3 other ministries that Prasad Bisesa intends to create. 3 other ministries that don't exist today. The same thing she did between 2010 to 2015. A set of ministries to create jobs for the boys, right? And what? And that's it. And that is it. Nothing more. And we have to understand how this crime epidemic has developed and bloomed over the last few years. we have to understand. And when he's talking about resources, that's probably the only thing that he says there that makes sense. Because the government's ability to be able to provide resources is constrained by the availability of funds, the availability of resources. Because the state has to provide so many things. So many things are competing for this limited pot of money, right? That it is difficult. It's not that the government doesn't want to do better. It's not that they don't want to provide resources. They have to give priority to certain things. And the priority, well, I wouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately for some, and to some extent, unfortunately, has been to ensure that every public servant receives their salary at the end of the month. The priority has been to ensure that everybody who relies on the social welfare mechanism, that they get their checks at the end of the month. That the pensioners receive their old age pension. That the people on disability grant and public assistance and disability, all these different things, that they get their money at the end of the month. That has been the priority for the Ministry of Finance for the last few years. 85% of the national budget goes to paying wages and salaries, transfers and subsidies, which just leaves 15% to be able to do all the other things. We want schools and we want the best roads and we want to fix healthcare and all of these different things. But the money simply is not there. And the only party right now that is articulating policy to be able to generate the income in the shortest possible time to be able to improve that circumstance is the People's National Movement. Nobody else. Everybody else only looking to criticize the PNM and Stuart Young. But who else is talking energy? Who else is talking energy? That is where we need the money in the shortest possible time. And when we see, quite recently, Shell would have announced that they are looking to see if, instead of 2027, which is the timeline we've been hearing for the longest while, that we could start seeing gas coming from Dragon as early as 2026. Right? Close to around the time of the expiration of, come on, man, you should know better than that. Really, know better than that now. 2026, so they are seeking to bring up the timeline so that we can start receiving that revenue that would improve our forex situation, that would improve the government's revenue position to be able to provide you with the resources that you need to improve your lot. And I had an argument with somebody, I wouldn't say an argument, but an exchange with somebody recently who were telling me, you know, they're upset with the government because it seems as if the government doesn't care. And when they look at the state of the roads and the healthcare and all of that. And I said to them, you know what the problem is? You all seem to forget that the government, the members of government, the government ministers have friends, family, loved ones who are not members of government, who are not on the government payroll, who drive in on the same roads and using the same hospital and who are accessing the same state facilities, right? And who are subject to the same laws and the same policies that the government puts in place. So when you all make it seem as if the government implementing these draconian policies to punish the people, which government is going to do that to punish their own loved ones, right? So you think they're happy to see when they have to take these tough decisions to punish their sister and their brother and their cousin and their nieces and nephews and so on? They drive on the same roads, as I've told you all before. They go to the same gas stations and the same groceries. And when it is that we have public officials who fall under these ministers, who earn 3 and 4 times the salary of the ministers, whose responsibility it is to deliver to you, and are not doing that. But we don't talk about them. Focus is on the government and the government and the government. And we vex with the government. And we want to put Kamala back. So I encountered a guy yesterday. So I still want to finish on Alexander. I'm almost done. And he's 36 years old. Right? So, you know, and I'm learning to read body language. This experience has taught me a lot. So I could tell from a distance when somebody is anti-PNM. Or I could tell from a distance when somebody is going to give me some headache. So sometimes you see people out in the yard, they're cleaning and whatnot, and you see in the group, a large group of people in red jerseys on your street. So those who, you know, are accommodating would come and stand up by the gate, and my workers who would go ahead of me to you know, let the people know your candidate and whatnot and engage in conversation. So if I see my workers standing by a gate talking to somebody, I know, all right, that person is probably PNM, or this is somebody who's accommodating. But when they go and I see they talk to people and then they head off and there's nobody standing by the gate, I know what to expect. Now, the option for me is to just pass straight because I know this person is going to be antagonistic, or I could choose to engage them. And I choose to engage because I don't want anybody to say, "Yeah, they come at the past, I was in my yard and him come stop and talk to me." So met this guy, 36 years old. And the body language, so he owns a little car wash and a little shop and so on. And he sit down there smoking and thing. But you know the pastor, so he rock back in the chair and he could tell the facial expression, so I know where he coming from, right? I said, let me go on, introduce myself and so on. And then he started and he said, problem I have with all you, just come wrong and the only time you see all you're doing nothing for the people, and it's 9 years of PNM and yeah, you know the 9 years talk. 9 years of PNM power and all you do and think, nothing for the youth. And he keep going on about that. Nothing for the youth. Have so much youth in the area here, nothing for them and all like that. On the anti-cams was day, I was eating my food. They say all kind of thing about life sport. I was eating my food. I used to get my little 1,500. Right? That used to help me out. And so he going on. Penny was with me and we engaged him for almost 15 minutes. And he kept going on and on and on. Anti-cams this and anti-cams was there. The little youths in the area, we used to be eating with food. Don't mind they say things about life sport and so on thing and all of that. And I said, are you aware? You're saying 1,500. I said, but are you aware that the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service has over 70 programs where you are paid a stipend, more than $1,500 to go and learn a skill, to learn a trade and so on? And you say, yeah, but I one or two youths in the area who think that, but it's the opportunities afterwards and things, how we accessing it, right? Accessibility is the problem. We have all them youths in the area and think, how they accessing it? And I said, what have you done? Have you gone to get the information to find out how they access it? You could have gone to the former MP, you could have spoken to your counselor and so on to get the information. Yeah, but why we had to be doing that? I only work, all supposed to come at that. So you're not even willing. You're complaining. No opportunities for the youth. The opportunities are there. But if you're so concerned about the youth, which you claim you yourself are, come now, man, do something. But you want to be spoon-fed. You wouldn't go and find out for yourself. Make inquiries. Come and put together a little team. Talk to the councillor, talk to the MP. We're looking for a little quota. We know the ministry has this, wherever the case may be. We're saying we have youths in the area. Even if you could get the grant, the $20,000 grant to start a business, we have people in the area with business ideas. He has his own little business. What you could do for us, if it is, you could get probably 20 grants or so for us, because we understand it's 1,000 grants they're giving out. At least get a little 20 for us, so somebody used to show, well, look, this thing is real and it's working. You ain't doing that. So put it on the MP and the council. They're supposed to come to you and sign you up on all of that. No, I'm not saying that there isn't some merit in that, but it is something, it's a twofold situation if you're really interested. But all we hear about anti-cams and when anti-cams was there and anti-cams was there and whatnot. So it tells me a lot. But I got the impression from him there is some concern about the youth in the area, right? But then I round the corner and I meet another young man, 23 years old, so he's younger than this guy. And he's telling me about how this same guy that I was speaking to, how they are distressing him. Right? He has come to live with I think his father or somebody there. He was living somewhere else before. And he's telling me, he said, I'm a productive youth, I'm not involved in no crime. He said, but these fellas are treating me. Right? He said, they rob me, they beat me, all kind of thing. And he said, I have family members who are police. And I could just shoot a call and they come and they deal with them. You see, but I don't want that. I just want to live in peace. He said, but they're frustrating me and distressing me because I'm trying to work hard to earn a living. I don't want no life of crime and so on, but them fellas in there. So now I'm confused because this guy just making representation for the youth and you're talking positive, and then somebody else is telling me, are you distressing him? How do I deal with that? Right? Because the other guy who tells me he's being distressed, you could see it in his eye. The only thing he didn't do was start to cry. But you could see he under pressure, but he trying to, to live good, but they making it difficult. Now, had I not seen him, now I'm not saying that the other guy wasn't genuine to some extent, but clearly there was something he didn't tell me. And this is some of the things that you encounter. All right, so I know my predecessor had it real hard. Lisa had it tough. And when you all think that representative politics is easy and they go in parliament and they go in and eat our food and get big pay and stuff, the kind of things that MPs have to deal with. When somebody comes to you and they tell you they want a HTC house, but we know you could either you qualify for a mortgage or you have the rent to own. But their income will not allow them to qualify for either of the two because you're working CPEP and you're making small money because you're working for minimum wage. But you want to get an HTC house, it's not free, it has to be paid for. And some people expect the MPs to work magic. So I am listening to some young lady who came to me yesterday. She looked like she could be about in her late 20s, but has 4 kids. And she's telling me I have 4 little children to take care of, and I had spoken to the previous MP and she had told me what to do and so on. And with respect to that, she said, but the issue is with my salary, I work in CPEP, so I ain't really qualified, so I don't know what you could do. What can I do? What can I do in that circumstance other than to assist you to get a better job so that you could qualify at least for the rent to own? But even that, you're not willing to meet me halfway because you're telling me you want to work in the corporation or you want to work in the borough. And that's all I keep hearing from young people. They want a borough work and they want a corporation work. Where is the ambition for something better? Why are you not thinking ahead and understand that when you limit yourself to that to a certain job that is going to limit your earning capacity, that you are impacting negatively your ability to be able to qualify for things like HDC houses, and you're making my job more difficult. I can't go to the HDC and demand that they give you a house if you can't afford it, because there are persons out there who could afford and they too on the waiting list for the longest while. Then I'm encountering people who have aged out of the system because the mortgage goes to age 65, but they are in their mid-50s and so on, and they're telling me they went to TTMB and they're being told that they're too old to qualify for a mortgage because you just have about 10 or 12 years left to 65, and that is not long enough for you to be able to qualify for the mortgage. And they're upset about that. They say, I have my savings. Yeah, but you don't have the time. So we have to come up now with innovative ways to say, well, okay, do you have any children who are working, who have a certain income, who could co-sign with you on this mortgage to be able to qualify? These are the things. So as I go along each and every day, I am faced with what are some of the challenges that will present themselves after the election. And so I have a better understanding now of what MPs go through, because people come to you and expect you to be a magician. Other than employment opportunities, one of the big ticket items everybody asking for, they want a house. They want a house. They want a HTC home. They're seeing HTC developments in the constituency, and they say, well, I see a development here or a development. I want a house here, I want a house there, as the case may be. But there are people who have been on the waiting list from other constituencies, and these houses are not being built for those in the constituency who want them. Some persons from the constituency may qualify, but you have to understand there are certain things. It cannot be that the government has to bend over backwards because you are not willing to do likewise. Meet the government halfway. They are do something, because when I get home every day and I'm relaxed and I just play over all of my works in my mind and the people that I've met, taking notes of all of these requests. And the life of an MP is not easy, The life of an MP, the people keep asking me, you sure you want to do this, boy? What do you think? You sure you want to do this? Sometimes some of my note takers standing next to me, and they keep hearing the same request over. They say, what do you think? You think you're up to this? You sure? It's too late to change your mind? No, it is too late to change my mind. But I am going to have to come up with innovative ways to be able to assist these persons. And I know there are lots of people that I would not be able to help, and some of them will be upset, but they have to understand what the limitations are. MPs are not magicians. And some of these requests require magic to fix. And it's not one or two or three of them. It's a lot. So when we want to beat up on the politicians and they get themselves pay raise and they this and they that, I am learning each and every day. Because aside from, you all see the glamour side of it, they're in parliament and they sit down and they rock back on the black chair and they get up and they shoot and tie and you see them driving in nice cars and whatnot. And that's all we see. But you don't see the part when it is people coming to their offices for asking for things and asking for assistance that is just too much. So much so that MPs dip into their own pockets to help people. They have all kind of things happening. Easter coming up, who want to have Easter egg hunt and who want this and all of that. And they come to the MP for help. And the MP dip in their pockets to be able to provide them with something, because they're looking for help to buy Easter eggs, and they're looking for help to buy snacks and refreshments and all of these things. And so when we beat up on the MPs over the thing and they only go in there for money, a lot of times, a lot of the money that these MPs get paid goes back into the constituency to assist, because they cannot always be running to the government coffers, which is limited. And so they do that, but these are the things that we don't hear. I have had occasions and opportunities to speak to some of these MPs because I'm trying to get a feel for the lay of the land. What are some of the challenges? And these are the things that they are going through. All 41 constituencies, whether it's PNM or UNC. And we figure that because they're in government, oh, they have money and the government have money and they could do this and do that. No, the money is limited. There's only so much could be done. And the demands just keep growing and growing and growing. So people are messaging me on Messenger. They're going on Instagram and sending me messages and so on. They want me to come and meet with them because they have a preschool and they this and they have needs for this. Who looking to get internet access and all of these different things for the preschool and all of that. And it is a lot, and the list continues to grow every day, every day, every day. And I think what MPs need to start to do is to have conversations with your constituents, which is something I intend to do, right? I intend to do. You need to meet with the people and let them know. Because people keep saying to me, I know this is the first and last time I'm going to see you. No, it can't be. Because if that is a complaint that I would have had in the past, then I cannot come and do the very same thing. Even though I'm a little more aware now as to what are some of the challenges that impacts the ability of representatives to really come out. But if you could do it during the election, but use the technology to meet with the people. You have technology there. You don't need to walk in the hot sun or the rain, going knocking from door to door. Let the people use the technology. You could speak to 100 or 200 residents or constituents at the same time using the technology of the Zoom, and they can ask you questions and everybody could hear the answers rather than the person come to you on a one-on-one and ask you a question that might provide general benefit and they are the only one who hear the answer. When in using the technology, they can ask the question and a number of persons in the community can hear the answer. So you don't have 10, 15, 20 people coming to your office to ask you the same thing and you have to give them the same answer 200 times when you could give the same answer one time and 200 people hear it. But you have to be able, as MPs, we have to be able to make sure communication is better. Communication, this is one of the things that I've learned. Communication is better, needs to be improved. To engage the people. So that if you need to meet with your MP, no need for you to come and sit down in the office for 1 and 2 hours waiting to see the MP, when the MP can give you a time to come online and speak to them. So if you get an appointment for 3 o'clock and then you have a Zoom meeting at 3 o'clock, you could go about your business, do what you have to do, and then when 3 o'clock comes around, you log on and you and the MP talk. When you make the appointment, the MP will find out, well, okay, where do you live? Okay, so Councillor so-and-so is responsible for your district. So I need to let Councillor so-and-so know that I have a 3 o'clock appointment with one of your burgesses, so I need you to log on at 3 o'clock. So in case the issue that they have is one that falls under your remit and not the MP's remit, that you could hear it, rather than me having to come and relay it to you, or the person has to now be told by me, well, this is a councillor issue, not an MP issue, so you need to go by your MP's office. Both of us could deal with it one time. We could knock heads and see, well, okay, how can we address this? What can I do from my side to assist you based on your limitations? These are the things, simple things to be able to do. So people ain't gonna be complaining, I don't see my MP and a thing. But anyway, that was my little soapbox for that day, right? So Mr. Paré, who has been ousted, so the UNC is no longer interested in him serving in Mayaro. So it's left to be seen what course of action he will take. As I said before, he has options available to him, whether he's just going to bow out of politics, is he going to run as an independent, or is he going to approach Michaela Panley or Gary Griffith? That is left to be seen. But what we do know from reading some of the comments is that the UNC, there are some UNC supporters who are not pleased with his ouster, because it's not about for them party loyalty, that this is a man, based on what they are saying, has been contributing to the community beyond just MP, dipping in his own pocket, providing resources, using his business as a means to assist persons in the community, and that's what they want, rather than some upstart who they don't know, right? Who just come in there, doesn't even live in the constituency. As a matter of fact, he lives very far from the constituency, right? And this is who the leader has foisted on them and said, vote for he. I and he, vote for he. Don't care, he's UNC, right? And what is his motive? With basically 4 weeks, assuming that he starts to work. So he now has to undertake putting together a campaign team, which in and of itself is a task. Then to start to work the constituency, and Mayaro is not a small place. And in some cases, the distance between one house and the next, So there is absolutely no way he's going to be able to walk the entirety of that constituency in 4 weeks. Right? But the leader who wants to be prime minister thought it wise to wait until now to announce a candidate for that seat. And it shows the disrespect that is being shown to the constituents of Mayaro, that they expect you to vote for somebody you don't know, that you've never seen and probably will not see before the election, and chances are you may not see him after either. Because once he gets in there, should you all play smart and play fast and loose with your vote and put them into office, that is going to be his focus. He has no idea what the challenges are. He has no idea what are the issues in the constituency, right? But he is expected to go and serve the constituency. So people don't know him. So yesterday I'm walking and I encountered someone who is a PNM supporter. But you have some like that, right? So I could tell, as I said, reading body language from afar. So this lady is out in her yard and I'm seeing her doing her work. And then once, as I said, my walkers are not in front of the gate engaging the person, I know that person is a little hostile. So I went and I said, "Good afternoon, ma'am. I am," and the body language, she turns around and the facial expression, this kind of, and "Who are you?" "I don't know you." "What you say your name was?" So I tell her my name and she says, "I don't know that name. I'm not familiar." So she says, "I'm a supporter of the PNM, but I don't know you from this area," and all of that. "Did you know Karen Nunes Teixeira?" Karen was living in Cascade, lives in Cascade. I am from the constituency. So is everybody you would know? So you're only willing to support persons who are known? But if the persons who are known are not stepping forward to serve, then what does the party do? Go and do like the UNC and try to offer them some sort of inducement to come to serve? And PNM people, some of them, that is their attitude. That is their attitude. Now I've met, fortunately, the majority of persons are very welcoming. Some of them say, "Listen, you have us, you have the support here, right? Because we know you're representing a good institution and we expect nothing less in terms of the quality of service." Some of them say, there's a PNM street, you need to walk here. There's a PNM house, you need to talk to us. Yeah, you need the other areas. But I said, I'm not taking any vote for granted. But there are the few. I think I go in and vote now because what? Some of the dumbest reasons for not voting. You know the candidate. You never heard about me. Okay. So where you wanted to come, Dr. Rowley? Stuart Young? I'm the first candidate from the constituency in the last 20-something years, or if at all. In fact, one resident at a meeting recently he said, "You are an answer to our prayers. We have been praying for a candidate from the constituency for the longest while." He said, "I wasn't going to vote because I said, if we did not get a candidate from the constituency, I wasn't going to vote this time." He said, "So you are going to get my vote because of that." And as I said, I have a vested interest in ensuring that the constituency is taken care of because I live in the constituency. So if there's a pothole on the Lisa Morris Julian Boulevard, it affects me. Because when I'm driving on Lisa Morris Julian Boulevard, which I would have to because I don't live in Diego Martin, I don't live in Maraval, then I need to get it fixed. So that is why when there was the water leak on the extended Lisa Morris Julian Boulevard, that was impacting me because it was growing. And when it is that I get to that point, I have to stay there and wait till the traffic coming from the other direction eases up so that I could go around. It had to be fixed, and it was fixed. People are happy now. It affects me because I live in the constituency. That is the benefit. But some people don't see that. Anyway, moving right along, because as I said, I have a 1:30 and I need to be able to take some calls. Permit me just to read Larry Lala. So Mr. Lala put out a post in response to the UNC's announcement of, last evening's events have convinced me that I made the correct decision to depart from what was the United National Congress. What was the party that Basdio Pandey built is no more and has been replaced by a cult of personality. How many times are we going to hear that terminology? Cult of personality. And he isn't the first person to tell us that. Rai Ragbear has said that. We have had Rambali say that. We have had, I think Victor Roberts has said that. Everybody telling you the UNC is a cult of personality. Worship of Kamla Prasad Bisesa. It's only a matter of time before we see a video with supporters of that party lie down on the belly, right, to form a human carpet so she could walk on the back. Only a matter of time. He goes on to say, right, what was the party that Basdio Pandey built is no more and has been replaced by a cult of personality where no principle applies except blind worship of a person. Rushton Parry is a self-made man who has devoted the last 10 years of his life to serving his constituency and serving it well. Though in opposition, he was able, through his resourcefulness, love for the people of Mayaro, and respect in which he is held by many, to draw help from many sources, even internationally, through assistance from several embassies and international organizations to assist his constituents. His only crime was to oppose a slate that she supported, we know who she is, in an internal election in which she was not a candidate, and he put that in bold, as her post was not up for election. So much for democracy and respect for the constitution of the organization. What is difficult to appreciate is the hypocrisy. If you don't want a democracy, then why pretend? I see that she even selected a candidate for Tunapuna who was never a member of the party, was never screened, and never even attended a meeting. Maybe some are fooled by these actions. For the country's sake, I hope it's not enough. What is Larry Lala telling you? He hopes that not enough people are fooled to put them back in office. A party that he has supported for years, a party which up until quite recently he was a member of. And he is saying he hopes that not enough people would be fooled to give them sufficient votes to form the next government. Larry Lala is saying that. He says, I wish Rushton Parry God's blessings, and whatever his next step should be. He's a great man, and I'm certain that his days of national service are far from over. That's Larry Lala, who was in the belly of the beast for years, is telling you this. He's basically telling you without telling you. Tell me don't vote for the UNC without telling me don't vote for the UNC. Just go to Larry Lala's page and read this post. That is it. He doesn't even mention the name. He doesn't even mention the name of she who shall not or should not be mentioned. Right? He doesn't make mention of her name, but we know who it is. Cult of personality. Since 2015, the campaign was titled Kamala 2015. And since then, it has been obeisance and worship. She has been, the UNC supporters have made her a deity, talking about she's the mother of the nation, and she's their God, and she is their queen, and they have Maharani and all kind of things. PNM people never refer to Dr. Rowley as no father of the nation, as no king, and all this nonsense. On the other side, that is what it is that they are doing, right? And I put it to you that some of the candidates that they are offering to you to serve not just as representatives, parliamentary representatives, but to serve as government ministers, understand that. Put aside the member of parliament part, put aside the candidate part, and look at these people and ask yourselves if you would be proud to have somebody like David Lee, Arnold Ram, Roger Alexander, Rudal Munilal, Barry Padarath. All of these people, ask yourself, would you be proud to have these people serve as ministers of government? Really? They keep talking about making the rich richer. But in addition to the three additional ministries that I just mentioned to you, you heard the leader of the opposition say she intends to create a ministry of artificial intelligence. A whole ministry surrounded about artificial intelligence, which is still a work in progress globally. But she wants to create a whole ministry just for that. Between 2010 to 2015, she gave you all the Ministry of National Diversity and Social Integration. What the hell was that? Nobody knows. So you pull departments from this ministry and that ministry and whatnot and put them in a hodgepodge under this ministry to create a ministry so you could create jobs for the boys. To create jobs. To talk where we create 55,000 jobs. Monies that need not have been spent. Compare and contrast that to Stuart Young, who has proposed a Ministry of Implementation and Efficiency that would treat with the bureaucracy and the red tape that impacts government's ability to be able to deliver in a reasonable time frame. But he says this ministry will operate out of the office of the Prime Minister, just as we have the Ministry of Communication that operates out of the office of the Prime Minister. So you just need a department. But what she is proposing is going to require the rental of new buildings. So that is at least 4 buildings that they're going to rent. From who? Who are they renting it from? They're going to rent it from Kingsley? Who are they going to rent it from? The same people they're talking about, the rich, proudly say the rich must get richer. But you have a number of buildings in Port of Spain, right? that for the last 6, 7, 8 years have been empty, that between 2010 to 2015 were occupied and rent was being paid to the tune of millions of dollars unnecessarily, because we had state premises in the building that is government campus, several buildings that were there that they could have outfitted and housed these ministries, which this administration gave priority to from day one, saving you, the taxpayers, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in rent, hundreds of millions of dollars that would have gone into the pocket of the same 1% that they have been maligning for the last few years. But I keep telling you all about that blue glass building at the bottom of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square, that for the last 8 years has had a sign on it that says for rent, empty. Since this administration would have outfitted that building on Ajax Street and moved customs out of that building where they were for years and put them there. So now customs is occupying state-owned premises, no rent paying. But rest assured, put them back in office and watch and see how quickly that building is going to be occupied once again. Right? They did some renovation work, so it is ready for occupation. And when you're creating a set of unnecessary ministries, ministries have to be housed and rent has to be paid. No rent for the last 8, 9 years, but the PNM in the back pocket are the 1%. You have PNM people talking that rubbish. That all these empty buildings, they're lining up, waiting, patiently, salivating. And every time they hear Prasad Bisesa announce a new ministry, they clap. Yes, yes, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Because the Ministry of Communication occupies a building just by the opposite Queen's Royal College there, that was previously the office of the Prime Minister before Whitehall was renovated and the Prime Minister's office moved by there. But that is a satellite building and communication operates out of there. But that is a ministry under the office of the Prime Minister. And it is the same model that Churchong is advocating. So we don't need to go and rent no new building to spend millions of dollars to rent a whole new building. We will use what we have. We have space. Use that. And we can still have an efficient ministry without incurring additional cost for that. But new buildings have to be rented. So understand when it is that you're asking yourself, where the money coming from? For them to be able to offer these inducements and to be running all of these ads and hosting all of these meetings on national TV and radio, where the money coming from when the party has no money? Understand where the money coming from and what the payback is going to be. So when the supporters come to talk rubbish and nonsense about 1% and 1%, ask yourself, take a drive around Port of Spain and see all the empty buildings now and play fast and loose with your vote and put them back there. And then 2 months, 3 months from now, take a drive, the same drive, and see if these buildings are not occupied. And who is going to put, while this administration has been focusing on building their own premises so they wouldn't have to pay rent, new Ministry of Health headquarters. There's a building down on South Key where years ago they used to have HEC apartments. Another building is going up there. Chagrid Road, where Government Princery used to be, there's a building going up there. A pace, now I saw a billboard that says it's supposed to be the headquarters for social development, but then the building also says, so I don't know how that's going to work, but it's government premises, saving you taxpayers, right? But they're not talking about that, just new ministries, big government. So I get blocked. Another one blocked me. This time, you know what it is? Y'all always hear me talk about Kevin Ramnarine because I would visit his Facebook page from time to time, right? Right, from time to time. From I get here. And I made sure on a screenshot the post that resulted in me being blocked because I suspected he would have blocked me. But let me show you hypocrisy UNC style. Where is it? Let me get this here. Where is it? Where is it? Just now. Let me see. So Jayanti blocked me, Kamala blocked me. Who else, boy? A few of them blocked me. Just now, where is it? No, that's not it. So many things are saved. Just now, when folks come on 1 second, let me find it. Ooh. Right. His post was the solution to governance problems. The solution to governance problems, and he posted this on March 23rd. The solution to governance problems cannot be to create more government. The solution to governance problems cannot be to create more government. And here, let me read the comment that I put that got me blocked. It seems the opposition leader missed that memo. Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Home Affairs alongside Ministry of National Security. That was my comment. Challenging his post, the solution to governance problems cannot be to create more government. And for that, he blocked me. Why do you think he blocked me? Because he's so accustomed putting out posts that only the fully dones would respond to. And all they saying, yes, Kevin, great work, keep up the great work. But the minute you challenge them, so basically, I put him up. Because you're talking rubbish. You want to criticize Stuart Young's announcement of creating one additional ministry, the Ministry of Efficiency, of Implementation and Efficiency, which is intended to cut government red tape and bureaucracy and improve the delivery of service to the citizens. You want to challenge that. But then the leader, the person that you supporting, is advocating at least 4 new ministries. So she created more government. Her solution to governance problems is to create more government, more ministries than Stuart Young has articulated. Right? And when you remind them, rather than respond, defend your position. Rather than do that, let me block this man, yes, because I realize he's at PNM, and PNM people have sense. PNM people are not blind sheep, as we like to talk about. So clearly he's visiting my page and seeing the nonsense that I'm posting that is really supposed to be for the benefit of the fully dones, who are not too bright. So whenever we challenge them, it's the same thing. Philip Alexander blocked me too. He's another one added to the list. So one of the persons who responded to him, she says, Kevin, I say this with love. Social media is great and we receive excellent information all the time from you. But the time has come where visibility on a platform would be even greater and would make a difference. Come on board. There are those who posing boldly with others and feels no remorse. We get excellent information. That's excellent information for Rosa. Some of them, what they're doing, they've set their Facebook pages now to where you can't comment. And so they lock the comment feature. Defend your, if you're so brave and putting out things and you think you're right, well then allow people who want to challenge you and you defend your position. But no, a set of cowards is what they are. Cowards. So I guess he probably went to look up, let me see who this person is, and realize, or maybe he knows that I'm a candidate and he decided to block me. But that is what Kevin Ramnarine is, a coward. So I can't challenge him, I can't see on his Facebook page. But what I really visited his Facebook page to do was to see if it is he would have posted an article recently came out where Shell, was it Shell or BP? I think it was BP, yeah, made an announcement. BP sanctions Ginger gas development, first gas in 2027. BP Trinidad and Tobago has sanctioned the Ginger gas development while achieving exploration success at the Frangipani well. In a statement on Thursday morning, BPTT said taking a final investment decision on Ginger and discovering gas at Frangipani are the latest demonstrations of upstream activity this year for BP in line with its strategy to grow its oil and gas business. Ginger will become BPTT's 4th subsea project and will include 4 subsea wells and subsea trees tied back to BPTT's existing Mahogany B platform. First gas from the project is expected in 2027 and will make up one of BP's 10 major projects expected to start up between 2025 and 2027. At peak, the development is expected to have the capacity to produce average gas production of 62,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. Ginger is located approximately 50 miles off Trinidad's southeast coast in waters depths of less than 300 feet. Drilling on the first well began in January and is expected to resume in Q4 of this year. Frangipani is located, just now, let me get this, where is going? Right. Gosh, wait a minute. Yeah. Right, just now. Right, Frangipani is located east of the existing Mahogany field, approximately 50 miles off the southeast coast. The Ginger development, as well as BPTT's Cyper gas project, scheduled to start up in 2025, are part of BPTT's strategy of maximizing production from existing acreage, developing capital-efficient projects that tie into existing infrastructure, and the project meets BPTT's expected returns from upstream projects and is fully accommodated within BP's capital expenditure plans. BPTT's president, David Campbell, said, "I'm very proud to announce these 2 milestones, With Frangipani, our objective was to prove that our continued progress in exploration and appraisal activity could unlock new fields and investment opportunities for the region. And the sanction of Ginger represents our commitment to continuing the development of our resources in our existing acreage and producing the gas that Trinidad and Tobago and the world needs. Would you believe that with this announcement, the fully duns who supports that other party want to know if BPTT play in politics? That if they chose to make this announcement at this point in time to give the PNM a fillip. BPTT is announcing they took a final investment decision. They don't care about the politics. Well, or maybe they do, because I'm sure when they weigh which of the two parties is more friendly, because remember, Prasad Bisesa has said she will create her own energy chamber her own energy chamber, because she doesn't agree with the current one. And where it is that they try to be balanced, they're not really about the politics. So she's going to create a parallel energy chamber to the existing one that has been there for years. She's going to create a parallel energy chamber and probably invite those that she believes are pro-UNC. Right? They're not prepared for any kind of opposition. But the supporters of the UNC, some of them, take issue with this. And rather than see it for the benefit that it brings, complaining that this is BPTT trying to play politics by making this announcement in the middle of a general election to give the PNM some sort of uplift in terms of its chances for the election. Likewise, when Prime Minister Young met last week in Jamaica with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, subsequent to that meeting, Mr. Rubio would have put out a post on his formerly Twitter profile, speaking about the meeting and making mention of what was discussed and so on. And the US Embassy here would have reposted that. And you have UNC supporters complaining and questioning if the US Embassy is a PNM party group and playing politics by reposting Mr. Rubio's comment or his post that seems to give Stuart Young some sort of leverage. So they're upset. They're referring to the US Embassy here as a PNM party group, right? Because that's what they're supposed to do. This is something major. The US Secretary of State came to the Caribbean and he met with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and they had discussions. The US Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago has a responsibility to report on relations between US government officials and the government of Trinidad and Tobago. But these people who are citizens of this country vex about that. Or the US Embassy not supposed to do that. Or they're playing politics. Do they have the best interest of your country at heart? I think not. Right? I think not. Especially some of the candidates that they're willing to vote for. But I see poor Jayanti Lakshmidiyal Ramdiyal. All of that, for the last how many years she's been in the Senate, all of that auditioning and all of that performance that you put down, so that your leader could see you, look me here, leader, I could be a gutter rat just like the rest of them. Look at my shameless performance in the Senate. Look, I would be an excellent candidate for the lower house. An excellent candidate. Just look at me, listen to my contributions. Have you ever heard more garbage? Yes, I could be lower than the white line, just like you and the others. So please, here, see me. Poor thing. I understand she would have put out $2,000 to be screened for Naparima. She would have put out $2,000 to screen for San Fernando West. And I think there was some other constituency they mentioned. They blank up for San Fernando West and they choose a man who ain't paying no $2,000, who did not file any nominations for screening. They just pluck him out of obscurity because Kamala had a town hall and they bring he to talk, and she was probably impressed with what he said and she decided, hey, that is the candidate. And poor Jayanti, who has been there, poor Jayanti, who put her neck out on a limb, right? Who would have gone to court to fight for murder to become an available offense. Just remember that. It wasn't PNM attorneys that did that. It was Jayanti and Anand who went to court to petition the court to overturn a law that is over 100 years old. That meant that if you are accused of murder, that you can't get bail. Today, murderers are out on bail, or murder accused, sorry, are out on bail, thanks to the same Jayanti. But that wasn't enough for her to get picked for San Fernando West. She was instead bypassed for a retired principal, right? Whose claim to fame is what? Nobody knows. And I don't know who is the person. Let me see, they have Naparima here. Dr. Narendra Rupnarayan, another somebody who was plucked out of obscurity, a safe seat. Nobody knows who he is. Never heard of him before in my life. All right? But she was even passed over for another non-entity that nobody knows. Poor thing. Poor thing. All that screaming and shouting and bashing the PNM, it didn't help you. All you did was make a $4,000 or $6,000 contribution to the party above and beyond what you were earning, what you were contributing from your salary as a senator. So Kamala probably said, don't study. When we win, you'll go back in the Senate now because we need people in the Senate. So don't worry. Okay, don't go home and cry and do anything extreme. Okay, you know, it's a strategy. But we're ready. We're ready. When the election was announced, oh yes, we've been ready for so long, but all you're still hog trading, trying to see who you could buy to come on board. Trying to see who you could buy to present, to say, hey, look, we bring in big names. They tried that with Ian Allen, it didn't work. Last time in Tunapuna, when they bring Wayne Monroe, big UE lecturer, that didn't work. He had issues, legal issues and so on, and they had to replace him. A pickup side is what it is. The PNM has 41 solid candidates and not one of us was offered any inducement to come forward to serve. None. None of us. But for the second time, they have to be doing that. Buying candidates. Because people are not going to come forward willingly to sully their reputations and integrity to represent a party like that. You have to be, because you know, that isn't there for you. Right? That's it there for you. But all of us would have heard the leaders' answers to some questions that was posed to her there, at their, let me see if I get it here. The town hall meeting. Let me see, I think, all right, before I go there, where is it? PSA president on Grandie platform. So the president, the newly minted president of the PSA, Ms. Felicia Thomas, made a surprise appearance on the UNC's platform in Sangre Grande last night. I don't know what was the surprise about that. Stating that she was doing her part to help remove the oppressive People's National Movement from office. Brothers and sisters, there is sun on the horizon. There is hope for a brighter day. We must take charge of our destiny, take charge of our future, and act on our responsibility to ensure that we leave an inheritance, not just for our children, but our children's children, Thomas said, to a cheering audience among whom sat former PSA President Leroy Batiste. So I don't know why that was a surprise. Thomas, who wore a green t-shirt, was accompanied by a contingent of workers also dressed in green jerseys and waved PSA flags. In other words, the Wassa section of PSA. Playing on the lyrics of Lady Lava's popular Ring Finger, Thomas said, you see all that talk about my party, my party, my party? Stop that shh. Nah, you know what shh means. Thomas said the UNC's commitment to workers. Hear this, sir? Thomas said the UNC's commitment to workers resonated with her as a first-time mother. She added that a vote for the UNC would ensure wage negotiations start at no less than 10%. Comrades, this relationship with the UNC didn't just start. It didn't start when the election bell rang. We didn't decide yesterday that we want to team up with the UNC, that we want to join forces with the UNC. Who is we? Who is we? You own the PSA? So we're trying to say nobody in the PSA supports the PNM? Ms. Thomas? Who gave you that mandate to speak on behalf of all PSA employees? Who? Or PSA members? Who gave you that mandate? Everybody, you sent out some sort of memo and asking people to commit, but you and Mr. Leroy Batiste take it upon yourself to go and join with the UNC and you speak for. But you see, that is what happens to PSA members when you all choose to stay away from the polls. And those of you who went citizens who will choose to stay away from the polls on April 28th, understand elections have consequences and voting has the same consequences as not voting. So that all those who vex now, who representing the PNM and hearing the leader of the union that's supposed to represent you, that your $100 going to every month, talking nonsense about is years now they supporting the UNC. What's Nduka supporting the UNC? So we know that that support started after he left. She goes on to say, comrades, this has been going on for a number of years. A number of years. Because we are clear that 5 more years of the PNM in office, workers in this country will not survive. Comrades, the UNC have a commitment that negotiations will start with no less than 10%. Do you want that? Take note. Kamala never said that. Any 10%? She mentioned that a while ago and has since abandoned it. Within recent times, she hasn't made mention of that. But Felicia Thomas committing 10% to fool all you. But when it is, you all play fast and loose with your vote. Put them in office, and then Kamala come and say, well, we didn't say that. That is what the PSA president said. And she wasn't authorized to speak on behalf of the government. She's not part of government. Just like they promised you the $3,000 pension at age 60, life begins at 60. So when you turn 60, just go to your nearest social welfare office and apply for your senior citizens grant. $3,000, no questions asked, no assessment, no nothing. Right? Just apply and you're getting your $3,000. And after election, they come and tell you it was a misprint. Well, clearly it was a misspeak too. But Felicia Thomas telling you 10%. Ask her, could we see the document, please, that you signed with Prasad Bisesa that says we will get at least 10%? Please, because we don't want after the election when we give your vote, because you say you're starting at 10, and then they come and say, well, we don't know nothing about that. And then all of a sudden you become anti-government and we must march up and down the street because they want to give you the 10% that you claim starting up. But let me remind you, while one union leader is saying they're starting at 10, let me remind you of what another union leader said just a couple nights ago. And I don't know why these people keep calling me. Today is a rest day. Please. I did mention yesterday. Anyway. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Just a moment. Let me get this here. It's a rest day for them, not for me. Right? So where is it? Let me remind you. They can't even get a message in right. Pick a struggle. So I just read for you what Felicia Thomas said. They're starting at 10%. Okay.
The commitment to restart the point of your refinery with the involvement of the union. Let me say that again. Let me say that again. Let me say that again. The commitment to restart the point of your refinery with the involvement of the union. And of course, while we can't talk about any percentage or way it was settled, there's a commitment to revisit the unjust and unfair 4% over 6 years and the 45% over another 3 years.
So Felicia is saying 10%. Roger is saying we can't commit. Which one is it? Who we listening to, Felicia or Roger? Because Prasad Bisesa ain't talking that at all. So I want to know, because I read in Felicia telling us here, and I will repeat it. She said it on more than one occasion. Because we are clear that 5 more years of the PNM in office, workers in this country will not survive. Comrades, the UNC gave a commitment that negotiations will start with no less than 10%. Felicia, when did they give that commitment? Do you have that in writing, Felicia? Please get it notarized, because we don't want to hear after the election, if you all play fast and loose with your vote, that it was a misprint. Get it notarized, Felicia. So if all you put them in office and they come and say they know nothing about that, at least you will have something to hold up for your membership when you're calling on them to march up and down Port of Spain, because they want to give you the 10 that you say they committed to. That Roger just told us, while they have no commitment. Let me play it again.
His name is Direct. And about 5%. We can't talk about any percentage or way it was settled. There's a commitment. And of course, while we can't talk about any percentage or way it was settled, there's a commitment to revisit the unjust and unfair 4% over 6 years and about 5%.
One saying is a commitment to revisit. We can't give no commitment. He ain't committing 10. She committing to start at 10. Right? Ask when the UNC finally announces their full slate of candidates and they come walking around, please ask them that if you're a public servant. Is it 10% or we're not sure? Because I hear 2 different leaders on the same UNC platform saying something different. And since the leader ain't talking that, not committing herself, I want to know as a public servant. Help me out now, please. I'm pretty sure none of them could answer that. But they want you to buy cat in bag. But we know while they're telling you they're selling cat in bag, is really rat in bag, because you all remember Hadi told us rats, rats. So take care. You don't think you're buying cat in bag and end up with 2 big rats, right? Don't say you weren't warned. All those of you who planning to vote for them or who planning to abstain, just remember that abstention. Don't say that you weren't warned. Thomas said when she was elected president of the PSA on March 11th, her first order of business was to remove an oppressive government from office. And comrades, I meant it because workers in this country must be free from dictatorship. They must be free from oppression. They must be free from tyranny. And that means they must be free from the PNM. All them promises she tell earlier the UNC will deliver. Let me just remind folks, right? Some of you all who don't like to research and don't like to read. So let me just read this again. And this is the last issue I will touch on before I open the lines, because I said I have a commitment. I know they're going to call me just now. Thomas said the UNC's commitment to workers resonated with her as a first-time mother. The UNC's commitment to workers. She added that a vote for the UNC would ensure wage negotiations start at no less than 10%. Comrades, this relationship with the UNC didn't just start. It didn't start with the election bell rang. We didn't decide yesterday that we want to team up with the UNC. Somebody please send Felicia Thomas a copy of the UNC's National Economic Transformation Plan and refer her please to pages 126 to 128. I will read page 48 to 49, or page 48 to 50, and I will read for you page 49. Following consultations, a new UNC government will review, assess, and determinations will be made on which state enterprises the state may want to continue to hold on to on behalf of the people. 2, which state enterprises would serve the country better if they were out of government's hands. 3, which would do better as public-private partnerships. 4, which will assist with research and policy direction for government in terms of climate change, poverty reduction, volunteerism, transformation, heritage, and cultural preservation. They want to talk about cultural preservation, but between 2010 to 2015, the Magnificent Seven, they all weren't interested in the preservation of those buildings, right? And had this government not come in 2015, at least 2 of those buildings today would have been rubble. They go on to say, we will gradually divest selected non-strategic state enterprises. We will gradually reduce the level of state ownership or remove government from several state enterprises which have no strategic national importance or are a financial drain and have no prospect of viability. These functions should be better carried out by the business sector. Somebody please send Felicia a copy. She don't need a hard copy. You could go and pull it up on the internet and send her the link and refer her to pages 48 to 50, where the UNC is telling you that put them in office and they will decide which state enterprises they're going to keep, which ones they're basically going to close down, which ones they're going to sell. And when they sell, and as they said here, these functions should be better carried out by the business sector, private sector. The first thing they're talking about is restructuring, all right? So whereas when Petrotron is around and they were overstaffed by at least 3,000 or more, understand that when the private sector comes and take over, their focus is on profit. They are not about creating jobs and so on. They are profit driven. And the first cut that they make is with respect to what? Jobs. So all of you public servants who in these state enterprises that the UNC is telling you, they will decide which ones should be gotten rid of, which ones would serve the country better if they are in the hands of the business sector, the private sector. Prepare yourself. Those of you who are on contract employment, understand that when the business sector comes in and the UNC carries out this mandate that they have in their manifesto, and they decide to cut because they're looking to see who on contract and do we need this department and that department, and they get rid of you. When Felicia telling you, you're safe with the UNC. When she's telling you the UNC made a commitment to workers and don't worry, you're going to get more than 10% at least or more. Take care that 10% is not your gratuity on your way out the door. Eh? Take care of that, right? As we on the issue of the 4% that people keep talking about and oh, the 4%. I've spoken to this issue before. Let me do a little bit of maths before I open the lines, right? So yes, what is on the table in terms of the pay raise is 4%. But the government would have done something else between 2020 to 2025, and even before 2016 to 2025, which constitutes a pay raise that people don't talk about. And of course, you all have heard me talk ad nauseum about the 3 increases in your personal allowance. So let's take, for example, a public servant who's earning $8,000 a month, right? Under Kamla Prasad Bisasa between 2010 to 2015, you would have been paying taxes with a personal allowance of $60,000. You would have been paying $9,000 a year in income tax, right? Because the first 60,000, so 8,000, you're earning 96,000 for the year. The first 60,000, you pay no taxes, and then you pay 25% tax on the remaining 36. $9,000 would have been going to the Board of Inland Revenue. All right? When this administration took the decision to increase your personal allowance from 60,000 to 90,000, it means that your tax liability, your income tax liability, went from $9,000 a year to $1,500, which means you're saving $7,500 a year in income tax that you would have been sending to the Board of Inland Revenue. That works out to $625 per month. That under Kamla Prasad Bisasa was going to the Board of Inland Revenue, but under this PNM administration, you get to keep, you get to take home, it go into your bank account every month. That's $625 extra that you're saving on taxes. That is disposable income that the government has told you to keep. Don't give it to us. You keep it and spend it as you wish. If your salary was $8,000 a month, that's $625 extra that you're saving and going home with every month would work out about 7.3%. Add that to the 4% that the government offers. It means you would have gotten a pay raise of 11.31%, not 4%. But we don't talk about that because we have been cultured to only think of a pay raise as I'm making 8 and they add 500 to it per month, or they add 600. But the government found another way to give you a pay raise without having to increase their wage bill, albeit it has resulted in a reduction in revenue for the state. A person who would have been earning $10,000 a month, same thing, you would have been paying same amount of taxes under Kamla Prasad Bisasa, $10,000 a month, you're earning $120,000 a year. At a personal allowance of $60,000, it means you would have had to pay 25% tax on $60,000. You would have been paying $15,000 a year in income tax. Thanks to Keith Rowley and the PNM increasing your personal allowance from $60,000 to $90,000, your tax liability has been cut in half from $15,000 to $7,500 a year. So that extra $7,500 or $625 per month that you're saving, $625 represents 6.25% of your monthly salary. Okay? So it means 6.25 increase, that is extra money you're getting to take home, plus the 4% works out to 10.25. So you would have gotten a pay raise of 10.25. 4 in terms of the increase in your salary and 6.25% based on the increase in your personal allowance. So stop saying you only get a 4% and you got a 4%. The government gave you more to the increase in your personal allowance, so you're taking home more money. These are the discussions that we need to be having. So this talk about only 4% and 4% and 4%. Less of your money is going to the state in terms of your salary that you're working hard for. Less is going in taxes, and you get to keep that. But you would have those who would come and tell you, yeah, but they give you in one hand and they take it back in the next. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that it is an increase. They reduced your VAT from 15 to 12.5. So when you go to pay your light bill, instead of paying 15% VAT on your light bill, you're paying 12.5. When you go to pay your phone bill, whether it's TSTT, B-Mobile, or whoever, instead of paying 15% VAT on your bill, you're paying 12.5. All right? When you go to pay WASA, instead of paying 15% VAT, you're paying 12.5. So you're paying 2.5% less in VAT than you were paying under Kamla Prasad Bisasa. So when she boasted, she took VAT off her food, 7,000 food items. Under her, you had to pay VAT. If you buy a laptop, you pay VAT. If you buy a cell phone, you pay VAT. You buy a tablet, you pay VAT. Under Keith Rowley and the PNM, no VAT. None. That 12.5% VAT instead of 15%. That 2.5%, I keep telling you, when you go to buy a car, do the math. You're building your house. Calculate what that 2.5% works out to when you have to buy cement and bricks and galvanize and all of the other materials to build your house. See how much money you're saving. All of these different ways, but who is government when you want to tax and tax? Why are we not having that conversation? So whatever is your salary? And for those who would say, well, The increase in personal allowance didn't affect me because my salary is $5,000. Well, okay. How did you benefit from the increase in personal allowance? I will tell you. Whenever the PSA, when Felicia Thomas and them decide to accept the 4%, your back pay, you're not going to pay any tax on your back pay. Under Passad Bissessa, calculate how much taxes you would have had to pay on your back pay. 25, because your 5,000 salary maxes out your personal allowance. So every single dollar of your back pay, you had to pay 25%. Because of the increase in your personal allowance, whenever you get this back pay, once your back pay is $30,000 or less, you will pay no tax. So you're getting your full back pay. You understand? That is the impact of that increase in your personal allowance. So everybody benefited. And while the 14% would have only benefited public servants, that increase in personal allowance impacted every single worker in Trinidad and Tobago. Every single one. So the government gave a pay raise to the whole country. Everybody who worked on that one move, increasing personal allowance. So public sector, private sector got a pay raise with that increase in personal allowance. How many times did Passad Bissessa increase it? Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. So she gave you in one hand, yes, you get pay raise. But the amount of tax that you have to pay going up too. And the percentage of your back pay that going back to the government, consider that. So when you want to cost Rowley and cost your Chung and cost the PNM, please take note of those things. All right? I'm going to take this call. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Well, finally, the former administration of your alma mater, St. Mary's College, former principal Anthony Dividal,
correct,
has broken silence, speaking for and representing the school in terms of what actually happened 33 years ago. Now, isn't it significant and past the stage of just coincidence that immediately upon Stuart Young being sworn in as Prime Minister, Imran Khan's sister comes out with a story about bullying, how you used to terrorize her brother. And mind you, her brother gets suspended. Her brother was expelled. Her brother didn't do his exams. They blocked him and blanked him on all fronts. Yesterday, thank God, my sister called me and told me to go to the Trinity channel and listen to the homily of Father Dividal.
Yes.
Where he told us everything that we needed to know. Everything that we needed to know. And the man said he was not suspended. He was not expelled. He was allowed to write his exams. And I did not, as principal, put anything negative about him into the records of the school. And he remains a viable and respected alma former student, alumni of St. Mary's College. What has Khadija Amin been telling the people of this country for the last month? Oh, he's a bully, he this, he that, and he's still bullying people. Well, Khadija Amin, Madam Petticoat, let me tell you today, if you haven't heard it, I'm sure you've heard it. Go back and listen verbatim about what Father Dividal said. And Khadija Amin, the priest, highly respected as he is, he said that he used the word lie. Lie, that you all have been his sister, and you all have been lying on Stuart Young. And he also said, I forgive you all. Khadija Amin, he forgives you and the man's sister. And he also said, if you read everything, he also said that he hopes that God forgives you all for lying on the man. Never said that Stuart Young was innocent, you know. But he said that you all inflated and calumniated and you all were malicious and scandalous and nasty. And because it's politics, you wanted to do everything to sully the man's name and his reputation going forward. So it tells a story of how predictably and how normally nasty you all are in the UNC. I make no bones about using that word. You all, people like you, and the others, I refer to you all as canal counts. You know the right, you know the truth, you know. Well, if you didn't know, the priest told us yesterday, in his own words, a student came to the school and clubbed another student. He came to the school with some weapon in his hand and he clubbed the student, meaning he hit Stuart Young, Khadija, and meaning. In case you didn't know, go back and listen. Go back and listen, madam. Go back and listen. This is the best that you all could offer the people. And as the priest said, it is all meant to disgrace the man. To disgrace the man. And that tells me that you all will scrape the bottom of the barrel to get power, to get in there, to get whatever you all want in this country. In other words, it is not surprising that many people, including Indians, Khadija, they are now leaning towards a conclusion, right? That the best that you all can attract is the scum of the earth in Trinidad. And that includes some of you all on the platform, some of the speakers, Madam Khadija Amin, the scum of the earth. And as far as the Tunapuna thing is concerned, I will say one thing. 3 words. I will leave with you, Khadija Amin, and your leader. In terms of Tunapuna, Satan correcting sin. Satan correcting sin. And I dare say, Mr. Roman, and as you are candidate, maybe you could advise your leadership of your party that since Father Devatai has denunciated everything about what Khadija Amin and the boy sister have been saying about Stuart Young, with the intention of crippling and destroying his character, just remind the organizers of your campaign that they must mint this for everything that it is worth. And you must tell them they must when you have your public meeting in San Fernando next week, Wednesday, and in Tunapuna Saturday in Exodus Spaniard, put back up that tape of Father Devatai talking and setting the record straight. Let them put it back because it has to do with defending the image and the character of your leader. And speak to them and let them put it up because UNC is going to put it. And the next thing you know UNC is going to say, I could almost predict it. The Catholic Church campaigning for PNM. But I want these idiots in the UNC to know one thing. One thing. The Catholic Church has never been any friend of the PNM. 39 years ago, in 1986, I personally, on at least 3 occasions, listened to the homilies of different priests suggesting to people that they should vote for the NAR. I am telling you that as a fact. And from the very origins of the PNM, the Catholic Church has been anti-PNM. From Finbar Ryan, the then Archbishop in the early 50s, he described Dr. Williams as a communist. All because Williams was standing up for the ordinary man and making a statement about the colonial rulers of the day. So I think, and I want to suggest to you, sir, this is a very powerful message from Father Devatai, and it would virtually undo UNC's campaign against Stuart Young as a person and as a leader. So I strongly suggest, sir, that you bring that almost to the immediate attention of your leadership to correct this anomaly and this nastiness coming from Khadija Amin and the rest of the UNC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. See here, Caribbean Soul. Oh, you live in Crescent Gardens? Well, and just when I thought, yeah, well, you know, every community has one clown. So I guess you must be the UNC mascot for Crescent Gardens. But I had the reception in Crescent Gardens was very good. In fact, the president and vice president of the homeowners association would have been working with me, right? And they went with me to the various homes, introduced me and so on, and I was well received, I guess. But Caribbean Soul, well, you were probably one of those who didn't come outside, you know, because yeah, it's a good thing you didn't, because I might have been able to convince you know, but yeah. All right, and for years, talking about for years, you all have had water issues. Some people say they have water issues. Some said, you know, it's not too bad. But don't worry, I'll address it for you, Caribbean Soul. I know the other issues you all have as well, concerns with respect to the HGC development and the use of your road, your private road, and your concerns with respect to the increase in traffic. But I'll address that for you as well. All right? So don't worry, I'll take care of you, even though you're fully done. I intend to serve all, fully done and honor. Let me just get this here. Let me get this here. I'll probably take 2 calls and then right.
College, joy of forgiving. One boy clubbed another one.
So let me get this here.
The joy of forgiving. God in the sacrament of reconciliation. But a great joy I experienced was 33 years ago when I was the principal of St. Mary's College. The joy of forgiving. One boy clubbed another one on the head. After investigating, I can say that in the interest of justice and of compassion, I did not suspend him. I did not expel him. I did not stop him from doing his exams. I did not punish him in any way. I placed no record of the incident on the files. I was happy to acknowledge him as a St. Mary's College boy in good standing. The joy of being obliged, I can even say, to forgive. But today, 33 years later, in the interests of politics, the incident has been resurrected. And once more, I have the happiness of forgiveness. It's in this falsified version of events that those who lied, those who slandered, those who calumniated, those who led into error, persons who were eager to see evil, I forgive you all. And I hope God will forgive you. And so I pray now for you. May God enlighten your mind. May his face shine on you. May he give light to your mind. And before your death, replace the bitterness and the sadness in your heart by love and by peace. By love and by peace. So be it.
So be it. Father Devotal crossed my mind just the other day. I mean, Father Devotal was old since I went to St. Mary's College, and I was, so I'm surprised he's still strong, and because Father Devotal probably in his 90s by now, and he's still looking good. He was I recall he was at one time my religious instruction teacher, and I think geography teacher at one point in time, if memory serves me correctly, when I was in, but anyway, but he still looks well, So that was Father Devotal yesterday. I could probably take 2 calls there just now. I have Jenny holding and I see Eric calling. So let me just switch this thing here. So get this here. No. Jenny. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hey, Jen.
Dominic, I'm so sorry that I missed the walk yesterday.
That's all right, man.
I had my clothes ready, everything, and no transport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I hope that the next time I'll be able to do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely will, because I know you will continue walking. That's not the only day.
Correct.
Right? But I really wanted to be there yesterday, but you know what? Things just happen for a reason, but I'll definitely be there giving support in any other way I can, if I can't physically come to support, right?
Yes.
Yesterday when I saw the video by Father Devotal, something came to me. There's always somebody there to bear witness to the truth, And when the truth is spoken and supported, people have a problem who believe in lies. But it also showed me that had Father Devotal and the school acted against Imran Khan, he may have been in jail, he may have been sent to the boys industrial because he committed a physical assault. And that assault could have led to somebody being unalive. Because had he hit Minister Young a different way, who was student at that time, Prime Minister right now, he could have injured him to the extent that he ended up harming him where he's unalive, right? So nobody can tell me that there's a justification that there was bullying and this is the action that the individual took. Because it wasn't any moment it was being any bullying happening, it was after the fact, it was premeditated. To walk to school with a weapon, because the battle became a weapon, and decided to deal a blow or blows onto somebody he sees who it is alleged was bullying him or was bullying him, right? You can't justify the two. Because you will not make jail for bullying somebody. But if you physically assault somebody because you say you're being bullied, you can make jail for that because there are other ways to treat with bullying other than violence. And that is where I think the school would have heard. Because when I read some of the things, and based on what you would have said also that you experienced at the school, that is hazing to me. And then boys at the test room trying to now learn themselves and form groups and peer pressure and all that. It would have been amplified. And I do not think that St. Mary's College would have acted in the best interest of all the students back then. I hope there's something else in place now so that we don't hear those type of reports. But again, physical violence cannot justify if somebody was bullying you. Yeah, especially when it comes with a weapon that you used, and then based on the report, you took the bloody weapon calmly, put it back in your locker, and went to class. So clearly shows that your state of mind. I don't matter how much bullying was happening, but you came after the fact and you committed a crime. And because Father Devotal did not pursue it, today why Imran Khan could be outside and enjoy his life in whatever way. And one student has a scar still on the head for life. and nothing would have come out of that. So we need to be careful when we're trying to justify things. This situation with the PSA, I want to say up front, PSA does not have a political fund. And in the absence of that, Felicia Thomas cannot, ought not, should not mount any political platform and speak on behalf of PSA members. She can speak on behalf of herself because she's an individual and she could be a part of any political party. But she cannot go out there and say that she's speaking for PSA members. She cannot do that because PSA members did not give her a mandate to go on a platform to say that they are supporting the UNC and they're waiting on 10%. I want to know what the trade union registrar or the registrar trade union, Mr. Edward LaFouque, is going to do about this, because this is a clear breach of everything that is ethical and moral, and also a breach of the union or association regulations and where unions are concerned in the broader sense of things. That is why OWT didn't form themselves in a political party. They had MSJ, who would have put forward the agenda of the union. That is how it is done. So all those who are happy and excited that who they call, it's alleged, Sasha Stupid, go up on a stage, a political platform on Houston, and declare that the PSA is in collaboration with the UNC, I think they really don't understand the union movement. I think they don't understand how she has further weakened the PSA's position. She hasn't strengthened it. No union joining with a government or opposition political party is strengthened. And why they're not strengthened? Because all the members of the union are not affiliated to one political party. They're from different political affiliations, some that support, some don't support. Because there's members, ordinary members from the wider public, the public service for your members. So you ought not to stand up and declare that the organization that a PNM might be paying $100, a UNC, a PP, a PDP, who don't vote, who does vote, who don't like voting and all that, and say that all those members who pay $100, you speaking on their behalf and linking them to a political party. I expect to see there's going to be a lot of negative fallout from this. And I want to tell public officers, the only persons responsible for us to be still on 2013 salaries in 2025 is Watson Solomon Joe, Felicia Thomas, and Leroy Baptiste. Because in 2014, instead of Joe sit and meet with Felicia there, with Leroy there, to sit before the CPO and negotiate in good faith on behalf of its members, Joe was obstructing the negotiation because he was busy getting himself into politics. He became, after that, the minority leader independently in the PHA. And then he went on from there, all 2017, 18, 19, when he should have been again negotiating in good faith for the public officers. He went and he formed his own political party, the PDP, and we saw what happened. So Felicia Thomas must wear that around her neck. Leroy Baptiste must wear that around his neck. And Watson must wear that around his neck. And to bring it home, in 2019, Juke came and told us he got a settlement from the Minister of Finance for the period 14-16. But he's not opening it now. He'll wait until the next year, which will be 2020. He never consulted with a PSA member, general council member, nothing. So we never knew what the percentage was. Because had we known, we could have been able to say we refusing or we accepting, and then we would have moved on to the next period. But just what she's doing there, Sasha Stupid, is the same thing Juke did and Baptiste did. And to WASA workers, who they're training up to tell them the UNC ain't gonna send them home. And they will get 10% for the period 2014-16, 17-19. I want them to answer these questions. Where Kamala getting the money from to pay 10%? And where Kamala getting the money from to keep all the workers in Wassa, because she has clearly shown she don't care about nobody who have the energy where we could get gas and oil from. She has shown clearly she has disrespected all the areas where we could negotiate with international bodies for our gas sector and our oil sector, or the energy sector. So if you're not getting it from there, and money not coming from there, we're going to take the money from people UTC money, from national insurance money. Where are you going to get the money from? I said that you're going to go to the IMF, and once that happens, water workers, gone. Public service, gone and cut. Social services, cut. Senior citizen pension at 65, cut. All disability grants, cut. All the IMF is interested in is programs that will make back the money. So let's think carefully. April the 28th, all you want to answer in that phone at Whitehall or at the Diplomatic Center. Is it Kamala Prasad Center or Prime Minister Teochew? It's as easy as that. Dominic, have a blessed, everybody have a weekend, blessed weekend. To the Muslim community, Eid, I think is, I'm not sure how the greeting go, but Eid Mubarak. And to the Spiritual Baptist community, all job blessings. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, Jen. So I can take two more quick ones. I said I had to jump off just now. Eric, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, Eric, go ahead.
Right, good afternoon to all the callers, listeners, viewers, pastor someone things. I know you have a tight program.
Yeah.
Let me take this opportunity to wish all the Muslim brothers and sisters, Eid Mubarak, and the Baptist faith, spiritual Baptist Christians. Dominic, I just have one thing to say, right? Now, Felicia Thomas is a big disappointment to me in this country, because all the years I would have known PSA, I never thought that PSA would have been a political entity. One, if I am a person who supports the People's National Movement, or let me say I support the NTA or other party, is it guaranteed that you would not able to assist me in any way? Because clearly you have broad-brushed the Public Services Association into one political arena, that is the UNC. Now, you being a president of a union, it clearly shows your alignment to where your allegiance lie. Because for you to make that statement when they would have won the election earlier this month, to say that the first thing on your agenda is to unseat the sitting administration, not knowing that some days later an election would have called. What that leaves you now? You mount a platform last night, right, to come and talk and say, what? We're going to put the UNC into office because they are offering us 10%. And I'm piggybacking on what Jenny would have said. Where is Kamala Prasad is going to get the 10% to give you all? Because she didn't say it. It's Felicia Thomas said it. And then you have Ansel Roger saying something else. So you see, these unions in this country have been an all-time low in this country, right? And I am calling on all public servants in this country, boycott that public service association, boycott that entity, because at the end of the day, if you have a president, a sitting president of an association who is aligning himself with a political party, and later now in her mind that she feels everybody in Wassa, everybody in the public servants or service is UNC, right? And that is a great recipe for disaster in this country. Because if PNF win the election, not if, when PNF win the election, what will be the stance now regarding the PSC? All you want to cuss and make bacalala and make noise, right? It's not the government to blame, it's the Public Service Association presidents that would have been there then and now. Look, yesterday, Dominic, while I was walking, we would have encountered a fella within the constituency. Here he stands. Oh, 2011, he gave back pay since 2011. He working on 2011 salary. Who was the president then? Watson Duke was the president when Munilal told Watson Duke, take the 5% and wind to the side. You understand? And then when the other units 24%, he ended up, people have to understand the reality of these people. Watson Duke took this PSA down to a dirty road, and then when he rode it into the sunset, he handed it over to Leroy Batiste, who was an utmost disgrace and created more disaster in the PSA. And on top of that now, you put a Duncian who knows nothing about PSA, right? All she knows is to go and talk a set of foolishness on a political platform. Felicia Thomas have no credibility in what being a president of a PSA stands for. And my thing is, I am calling on all the public, all the members in the association to boycott that PSA, boycott it at all costs, because clearly she has aligned herself and she's going to victimize persons who did not support the UNC. So people are putting all their notice, boycott that Public Service Association union, right? So before I go, let me give a little breakdown on the candidates now. Well, I won't do that now, because it's shut up Baptist and East. So let me give them that respect.
Yes.
But people,
we'll do it tomorrow.
Let us stay focused. Let us stay focused. April 28th is a mere 29 days away. Let's stay focused. That was a good program at the
Thank you, sir. Right. Let's see what's the time there. Let me just take on another quick call there. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
What's going on?
Oh, Lord, Father. Leave it there. Leave it there. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Says good evening. Dominic.
Yes, sir.
You see how life is strange? You're telling me I don't have to talk about Dr. Rowley because he's no longer there. But you could talk about him. Brian and other people could go on the barbershop and talk about him. But leave it there. Mustn't say nothing.
Did I talk about Dr. Rowley today?
Life is strange, Dominic.
Did I talk about Dr. Rowley today?
Leave it there.
Leave it there, Yaba Canales. Okay? Yaba Canales. But anyway. All right, last call. Brian, last call, and then I go. Hey, Brian, go ahead.
Dominic, I just want to get a couple of things straight, right? Did you say that Roger Alexander does not live in the constituency of Tunapuna?
No, he lives in my constituency.
Did you also say that Jayanti Lakshmidiyal did not get, but she didn't get, I know she didn't get
yeah, she was rejected for San Fernando West and Naparima.
She didn't get Naparima?
No.
Dominic, there's a lot to talk about, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I know you're busy. So I just saying, I will talk with you on, I think it's tomorrow. You say
tomorrow, yes. After my work, I will do another live tomorrow.
11 o'clock?
No. So my work is from 9 to 12, so I'll probably do like around 1:30.
I will leave. I'll do like my good friend. I will leave it there till tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Folks, thank you for joining me this Sunday afternoon. As I said, I have a lunch invitation with a couple of my my constituents, and so I obliged. So I will be heading there now. But thank you so much. I trust that I would have been able to impart, and we're going to be doing this a little more regular now. I have to increase the frequency because there's a lot of information for us to discuss. But the information that you get, please don't keep it to yourself. Please share the live, and when share the information too on the debunking page on Facebook. We have a lot of material that we have been sharing with you all in terms of the PNM's accomplishments and achievements over the last 9.5 years. So please visit the page. Those of you who are on YouTube and not on Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, please visit the Debunking UNC Lies with Facts page and share the material that we will be sending to you as frequently as we get it. We will be sending it, right? So share it with your people, get the information out there. We can't do it alone. And so all of my PNM listeners, the party is looking to you. So this is one way that you could play a part and contribute to the our election campaign effort, right? It costs you nothing to like, share the material that is there, and we will chat again tomorrow, as I said, around 1:30. I just want to tell Caribbeans too, I know you're a UNC supporter and lying is in your DNA, right? But when I walked Crescent Gardens, I didn't have 10 people with me. In fact, I had too many people, because one of the challenges that I had is that as I was going and talking to people, the amount of people that was working with me was just, some of them were crowding me a little bit, and persons didn't want to talk with so many people, right? But on average, when I walk, I would have probably anywhere between 45 to 70 people working with me. Okay? Unfortunately, we have videos to prove it. Caribbean Soul. We have videos to prove it. And again, I would repeat, I don't have to pay anybody money to work with me. Okay? I just have to put out the post and people come. In fact, as I said on Friday night, people came as far as from Point 14 to come to Malabar for the launch of my campaign. Okay? And they weren't paid. Caribbean Soul. So stop telling lies now. God lying and all that DNA, every little thing, all they lie about. So, G's and ages, you should have come out and meet me, and you'll see that, I'm a good guy. But you could still redeem yourself by giving me your vote, since you don't have a clue who your candidate is. But 1 week before nomination day, well, less than a week and 4 weeks to go before the election, while the PNM supporters in Crescent Gardens, Caribbean Soul, knew who their candidate is and would have met with their candidate, your party has not afforded you that privilege. So you don't even know your candidate's name, and chances are you're not going to meet your candidate before the election, but you're going and run to the polls to vote for Rattenbag. Well, you feel free to do that. All right? But to the right thinking members, residents of Crescent Gardens, thank you all so much for coming out and meeting with me. Some of them have pledged their support. In fact, some of them have contributed financially to our campaign effort. Yeah? So contrary to what this individual, this UNC supporter lying in the DNA is saying on YouTube, yeah, come now, man, better than that. But feel free, if you need, just let me know. I could organize a jersey for you, since you're probably not going to get one from your candidate. You don't know if it will be yellow or blue. Collect like the UNC struggling, like they're trying to audition to be the Carib mascot, blue and yellow. They can't make up their mind. Your leader wearing more blue than yellow. But all they're talking about, yellow is the code, yellow is the code. Apparently, your leader abandoned yellow long time. Come now, man. You all can't pick a struggle with this in terms of your party color. You don't even have a candidate for Malabar Mousica to come and give me some kind of competition. But come in here to talk rubbish. But you're UNC and proud. You should be UNC and ashamed. Folks, we will chat again tomorrow. Judy says no study. He's very nuts. We see here, of course, yeah. So, folks, tomorrow, please God, right? So when my work is completed, I'll rest up for a little bit. It won't be much, and then we will chat again. All right? So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Whatever it is that you're doing in moderation, keep safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, your long weekend.